maybe give it a minute for people to come in case maybe that could be I don't know, something. It only takes them a second to get to load the. But you'll be able to see. Do you see the members in the public?
I do. Dr. Dean isn't one of these.
No, he definitely was supposed to come, so. Who knows, there might be traffic there or.
Yeah, Don said he was coming.
Yeah,
I saw it in he sent an email.
yeah.
Wants to go outside and give him a call. Just to- what's going on.
Yes.
Pretty sure I do.
At all the buttons. So we have 7 attendees. So we are post-COVID, right? We started to give non-regulatory boards the option to meet in person because we only have, this is the only room we have this kind of hybrid setup in. So far the goal is for all boards to be meeting hybrid. So the regulatory.
There it is.
Drag me out of the street.
Don,
So this is a hybrid meeting.
Dummy.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to
Yeah,
meet
pleasure to meet you. I don't know why I thought you were gonna be zooming it. I didn't know. Go ahead.
All right, so let me, we're still on, right?
Yes.
So let me call to order the special meeting of the Gloucester Board of Health. It is July 18th, at roughly 5:30. We're in the Harbor Masters Conference Room. And let me say that this meeting is in accordance with open meeting laws. And we will, as usual, hold meetings in a hybrid fashion, and adequate alternative access to the meeting is provided through the Zoom link. So let's just quickly go around the room and introduce ourselves. I see we now have a full board. So Eric, if you could introduce yourself.
Eric Kaplan, Board of Health.
Marco.
Marco, Board of Health.
Lori Curley, Board of Health member. Joe Rosa, Chair of the Board of Health.
Don Gannon, Board of Health.
And
Jill Cahill, Chief Administrative Officer.
Greg Bergen, Mayor.
And our guest of honor.
Dominique Curley, Gloucester resident. Nice to meet you all.
All right, so so the purpose of the meeting is to interview the candidate, Dominique Curley, for the position of health director of the department. And so I think the first thing that we usually do in this regard is to give you an opportunity to talk about yourself, why you're interested in, whatever else you'd like us.
I should say, let's do a quick intro if I could,
Yeah.
and then hand it over.
Ah.
So,
Sure.
so obviously I'm here to introduce to the board as well as the public. I was selected candidate for the health director, Dominique Curley. I'm sure you've all seen her resume, at least the board members have. It's quite extensive, impressive. She's got a lot of management and leadership skills, which I think are a wonderful thing. She's worked in the health-related fields for a long time. And while it's not specific to public health, I'm confident, and I think you'll agree, that after you hear from her, you'll find that her skill set brings a lot to the table. And it's going to be critical in managing the department. And I'm sure she'll quickly come up to speed on all the responsibilities of being a health director. In this difficult labor department, we've been forced to think creatively as far as recruiting talent, especially at the higher level. In conversations with my colleagues, other mayors around the state, we're all sort of in the same boat, dealing with a real shortage. There are many vacancies, and there's only so much poaching the mayors have been doing from each other that we can continue to do. But I think that both Jill and Joe can attest to the skilled and knowledgeable staff at the health department, and they know how to do the job. So I think they'll help Dominique get up and running. So I'm confident that Dominique will provide the operational leadership talent. The staff will support her and strategic decision-making and visioning to make this department move forward. So with that, through the chair, I'd like to present Dominique Curley.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Mayor. Appreciate that introduction. So I've been in life sciences for the majority of my career, focusing heavily on how information is leveraged across various organizations, understanding patient professionals, and all sides of the health ecosystem, focusing specifically on how that data is leveraged infrastructure of the organization, the technologies that support it. Most of the roles I've carried have been large enterprise positions where I've had to oversee the operations. And oftentimes that meant coming into an existing department, establishing the vision, understanding the operations, really getting to know the teams, and then being able to push forward the goals of the leadership that have asked me to take care of. Over the years, I've managed big teams, small teams, teams of 70, teams of 6, and I've always taken the attitude that make sure that you understand all sides of the department and what everybody is doing, and be able to support them. And I feel like that's a really important thing that I bring to the game here, is understanding how to work across an operation, both colleagues that I'm collaborating with as well as the direct team that I'm working with. I'm here today because I moved to Gloucester a few years ago, and I at a point in my career where I don't just want to, make more money. I want to be able to give back to the community. And as I've been networking around the town and talking to various folks on the nonprofit side and just, individuals, led me to meeting Jill, led me to meeting Joe, started talking about this position. And although I feel like I have a lot to learn about the role and, some of the legislation that surrounds it, I am very excited about that learning. I'm sort of white on rice when there's new things, and I'm pretty excited about that part of it. But I also bring with me, from an experience standpoint, a good understanding of how to be compliant to law, how to run governance organizations. It's really an important part of the work I did in industry. And so I have that sort of as some good, stepping stones for me to be successful. Is there anything else that I should elaborate on?
Say whatever you'd like, but I'm sure we'll ask you some questions that will allow you to elaborate on things. I can start that actually by asking. So by way of background, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is justifiably an important issue, not just in Gloucester, but throughout the country. And it is also in Gloucester. And so could you talk a little bit about what that means to you, and whether or not you've had any particular experience? Have you had to deal with someone who was speaking out of turn or bad, inappropriate behavior, and how you dealt with it? How you would deal with it if you hadn't had experience?
Sure. Well, first of all, with regards to diversity, equity, and inclusion, I think what's most important as a leader is that you are empathetic and respectful of all those that you work with. Every person brings a backstory to the department, to their, to the company that they're working for. They have their own personal lives. They have cultural, things that are influencing who they are and how they act. And I think it's so important to understand where people are coming from and being respectful of that and giving that a voice, and being sure that that's thought about and openly, brought to forum when we're all meeting and, interacting with each other. As it relates to having experiences, I've really had experiences on the corporate side, working with individuals that are, feeling that they're not heard. One great example, and I think I brought this up in a former meeting, but there was a woman, Karuna, who worked for me when I first joined a very large biotech. And I met with every single one of my team members, and there's probably about 60 of them in full. And I get to meeting Karuna, and I find out that, Karuna had left India to follow her love against her family's wishes. And she'd been forging it on her own. And she had found this company who was going to be backing her for citizenship, and she couldn't make any moves because of that. And she was just sort of stuck there and nobody was paying her any attention. But I was struck by who she was as an individual, had the chutzpah to, kind of step away and make this happen for what, bring her own destiny to life. And so as I got to know Karuna, I kept giving her more and more responsibility, and she never, ever failed. She was just hungry for everything. And today she's literally running all of the information operations for one of the biggest biotechs in Boston. And so I think that's an example of just being sure you're listening really carefully to everybody and bringing forward what makes them great. And making sure that there's voices and those voices are heard. I haven't ever personally had anybody, say anything derogatory in a formal setting, but I am personally very much a see something, say something person. So if friends or neighbors are going to be making statements that are clearly inappropriate, I definitely call it out and talk about it and make sure that they understand. I mean, not necessarily publicly, but certainly privately. So that helps you understand my perspective.
Good. Other questions?
You talked about supporting your staff. I know when I worked in the health department, one of the toughest aspects of the job from the inspectional services level is dealing with the public and having issues, adversarial conversations with people who don't agree with you. And maybe could you talk about how you support your staff and how that might play a role in dealing with the public and potential
Sure.
adversarial situations?
Sure, I'm sorry that you had that experience.
Not all the time, but it
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. Well, I think the job of leaders to make sure that the team is supported and they have what they need to be successful, right? And if that's a situation where there, folks are approaching a member of my team and, making it tough for them, I'm going to want to, be available to also speak to that same person and listen to them and understand what's going on, but certainly to make sure that my team member isn't, taking the hit for that. I think that what's important is the operations that are running in a department are clean and, there's some predictability and, everybody has an understanding of how to be effective, and whatever you can do to educate the public on why things are. I think, more information is great because that's going to then bring the empathy of your customer. So in corporate America, I have a lot of internal customers. I'm sitting on a client side with a lot of suppliers helping me, but I also have a lot of internal customers. As you can imagine, being the keeper of information and protecting its use and making sure it's lawful, a lot of folks sort of take exception to why can't I have this and I want this tomorrow and I needed to do my job and, sort of bringing them in and helping them understand why information is managed the way it is and why there has to be the line of questioning and protection, helps make them, good corporate citizens, right? Or good townspeople. But also I always found like more information is better, just help bring them close and help them understand what's going on so that they can have empathy for the department. However, I definitely think it's important to support the team members. If there's inappropriate behavior, or somebody's coming on too strong, I would definitely put myself right in front to have that conversation directly with that individual. Is that helpful?
Definitely, yeah.
Good.
Good answer.
Yeah, that speaks to your managerial style, but that's not my next question. How would you describe your managerial style?
Very candid and straightforward, honest, and empathetic. Again, everybody's coming from a different spot. Service oriented in this role in particular. I'm working for the townspeople and really trying to understand what everybody wants. So as a leader, being really careful to listen, especially in this role, I'm going to come into this role and know so little about what everybody's doing. And really having to listen very carefully to, as you just described, how do you interact with the public, or what each team member is facing, what each side of the department is engaging with. So, listening carefully, leading through example, and I'm very much of what you see is what you get person. I really can't, by nature, be very flipped. So. I hope that that's a good thing in a public facing role. It has served me well in the past. So I think that would be a good fit here. I'm hoping so.
Thank you so much.
I have a question I had asked you at the last meeting, but since no one's asked it, I want to ask it again for the rest of the group. since Mayor Verger is here, one of the things I asked you was about political, how you would deal politically with the town and essentially with the mayor and the rest of the legislative branch of the government that we have in Gloucester.
Okay, so I think what's most important is that, I'm representing not only the Board of Health and what the Board of Health wants to accomplish and the citizens of Gloucester, but I also have to represent the laws of the state and even the federal government and the expectations, all the way through to how communities and the public have access to health and services. And so first and foremost for me would be law, and being sure that that's, front and center. And I think Mayor Verger said the same thing, the law. That's really important part of how we're leading through here. But also I think what's really important is making sure that all parties are coming to the table and being clear on what they want and finding that point of compromise and trying to move forward. I don't think there's ever one way to get things done. I think it's important that, especially in roles like this, that I have good facilitation skills and I can really help teams collaborate both cross-departmentally within my own team, and then with the varying needs of the board, the city, the state. I think that was going to be a really important part of the job that I do.
And the other part of the question was about how you do presentations, and I know you do well, but maybe you couldn't expand on that. How your speaking capability is.
Sure. I speak publicly. I have spoken in many different forums, large rooms. I think I brought up, I spoke at South by Southwest, which was like the biggest thing I've done. It was really cool. Bringing forward blockchain in healthcare and what it could mean. And that was a really powerful experience for me. And then I've spoken in very small lunch and learn sessions. Obviously being able to petition for budget in corporate America, it's pretty much a beauty pageant, being able to go in and be really clear and articulate about why and be ready to compromise and negotiate through that. So whether it be in meetings or, formal settings or, roundtables, panels, I've done a lot of that. So I feel quite comfortable speaking in public.
I can tell.
I don't have stage fright for some weird reason. It's odd. I get excited about speaking.
Eric, did you have something else to say?
No, I just said it was obvious that she speaks well in public.
Marco?
Yeah, I have a question. You obviously have a really impressive resume. You do it well.
We can't hear you, Marco.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, a bit better if you speak up. Yeah.
Okay. You have a really impressive resume, obviously. You answered a lot of my questions that I was asked. As it relates to public health, can you identify any specific strengths you bring to the table that you haven't already answered, or any weaknesses that you might anticipate?
I wish I could hear that better.
We didn't hear the second part of it, so I heard highlight any strengths particularly related to public health that you bring to the role, and then we missed the last end of it, Marco.
Any particular weaknesses you might be able to identify that you might anticipate?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so this role, much of what the department does is new to me. So the role of a public health director is new to me. I've been reading a lot about it since my first conversation. I've been exploring state trainings and federal government trainings and reading as much as I can on the website, in Gloucester proper to figure out how things are done, meeting notes and all that. But the big gap I have, and it's, the elephant in the room, is that I have not run a public health department. I do not have a degree in public health. What I do have is the desire to learn and to contribute and give back to the community. But it is a weakness coming in. My first 90 days are not going to be, hey, let's make sure everything's running well. It's going to be, please tell me what you do. Please tell me how it's going, and doing a lot of listening to understand what has to happen. So how I would handle that, if I could elaborate, would be to listen carefully, talk with all the constituents, all the departments, all my team members, the board, the mayor's office, the public certainly, and just really get a sense of what the needs of the community are, and then tie that together with the expectations of the role that are mandated or, currently in play. I think most importantly, though, is be a good leader to the team that, and make sure I'm supporting the team as best that they need it. But it is a gap, Marco. There's no doubt. I'm highly interested in getting more training, getting, official, certification as a health officer. So I would pursue that as I took on this role, but it is a gap right now.
Sound motivated, so, great.
And yeah, I'm excited about the new learning. I've been in the industry of health for quite a while and circling around the patient, and how the patient's supported. And this is really interesting side of the wellness, and so how do you help, society not necessarily become a patient, or, prevent as much as possible so that, everybody can live longer, happier lives. That to me is very interesting. And again, this community is just such an interesting community. I just, so that's really motivating for me to be able to give back and also to pick up all the new information on how things are done.
Any other questions? This is your opportunity. Joe, Mayor, do you have anything further to say?
I'll just say briefly, I think that, the fact that Dominique is not trying to sugarcoat that she's got a learning curve that she needs to overcome, I think is admirable. But I'm very confident that the track record, the experience, and the I think motivation is the word Marco just used. I think those aspects are going to help this be a successful match for us.
I would just add, I think the timing strategically is very interesting. One of the things that we spoke with Dominique about is with the mayor launching the comprehensive plan, it will touch on each area of community life and city government. But I would say probably about this time next year, we will be in the area of health. So it gives Dominique a nice amount of time to catch up, kind of get over that learning curve, really get her grounding in city government, and then really hear from the public. What's the vision for the public health department, and then make it happen. So I think the timing is really interesting, and to have a very strategic leader who I think that's that's what brought us to our attention was the leadership skills on her resume, and the management skills. So and having spent time with the department, Joe and I both, I think, are here to tell you they know how to do their jobs. We have a really talented and skilled team, and I think that to have a strong leader at the beginning, at the front of that, will make a big difference. So I think it'll come together.
Yeah, that's something that's given me comfort is that, you and Joe both said how the team really knows what they're doing, and they've really, they're sort of self-sufficient in that regard. So that's calming for me to come in and still be able to learn and contribute.
Great. I agree with all the positive comments. You will make a very good addition to the team. Any other comments from board members? Marco, Eric?
I know that I had asked other people may be interested in about her ability to do grant work. You might want to comment on that, Dominique.
Sure. Grants in the nonprofit world are very similar to RFPs in the for-profit world. I have led many RFP responses and know how to write them so that they're appealing and accomplishing what the grantor wants to see, understanding the accountability that has to be in place for such funds to be, for funds or in this, in the profit world business to be allocated. And I've also had good experience, operationalizing RFP response, which makes light work, because many questions might be similar. How do you sort of build that library of responses and be efficient around that? So while I haven't written grants per se, I think there are some good parallels as I've looked into it. I've already taken the New England Public Health grant writing course and got my little certificate, so that's what helped me make this statement. It's very similar to writing RFPs and being, really aware of what the strategy is around winning the business, in the case of a grant, getting the funding. But again, I haven't directly written a grant, so.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Right,
So at this point, we'll excuse you.
all right, thank you so much for your
Dominique,
time.
Thank you very
Pleasure
much
meeting
for.
you all, seeing you there, have a great day.
Thank you so
Nice to
much.
see you all. Wave to
Thank
everybody
you,
else.
Dominique. Thank
All
you.
right, have a great day.
Thanks. So we worked hard. We involved multiple people to put together a motion. Let me read it, since we worked hard to make it happen. I would like to move that pursuant to General Law, Chapter 111, Section 30, the Board of Health appoint Dominique Hurley as agent and recommend to the mayor that Dominique Hurley be appointed to the position of City of Gloucester Health Director.
Second,
Second by Eric. Any discussion, further discussion? No?
No.
All in favor?
You remote thing to do.
We have to do, because they're remote.
Oh, sorry, we have to do what?
If you have some remote, you have to do roll call.
Oh, yeah, no, we have to do roll call anyway. But yes, Eric,
yes, Eric.
Marco,
Marco, yes.
Thor,
Thor, yes.
Joe Rosa, yes.
Dawn, yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you.
I vote yes too.
So let me just finish the agenda of this meeting. I presume there are no concerns of the board to be brought up at this time. Let me just remind the board that the next actual board meeting is some ways from now. It's Thursday, August 10th. In this room at 5:30. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Everyone's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for taking the time to.
And thank you, Lee, because Lee's about to go on
Yes,
vacation.
of course.
Thank you for amazing visit.
Always, thank you.
And she's
Yeah.
officially on vacation.
Oh, there you go.
I'm gonna end the meeting.
Yes. That's great.
See you soon.